Hi there, how are you, everyone? Here it is Saturday, June 7, 2025. Yeah, just glad to be here with you as you pull into the classroom, pull into the parking lot. I just pulled into the parking lot, so you're pulling into the classroom. Just give my little intro here. Rebecca Montrone. I am a holistic healthcare practitioner with a degree in holistic nutrition. Founded a business almost 25 years ago. In 2005, called Wondrous Roots. So my theme with that whole thing is getting to the root of health and disease, using my Wondrous Roots, which are my parents, which is who inspired me, my mother, to be all enthused about nutrition and the change it can make in your health and your life. My father, who was a compounding pharmacist and gave me my roots when it comes to taking certain health conditions and trying to find things that work to repair them. And so he was a compound pharmacist. He was also a brilliant clinician, and I'm very, very proud of that. And also I am an herbalist, so there I get my compounding pharmacy DNA in a little bit there. Well, not a little bit. We have a lot going on here. So I'm an herbalist, formulate a lot of products, which you can find in our local shop here, Wondrous Roots, on the third floor of the Miller Forge building here in Keene, New Hampshire. Also online, shopwondrousroots.com. I think I'm a little bit, shopwondrousroots.com. You can see what we have to offer there. We have also many nutrient supplements that I use with people I'm working with individually and also make available to the general public. I do see clients in private consultation, either in person or this way, if distance is an issue, and to reach out to me, 603-439-2603, wondrousroots.org or shopwondrousroots.com. Go to contact us and you can easily type a message to me there and I will get back to you. I think that just about covers it. Again, wondrousroots.org, shopwondrousroots.com. I've been doing a series here on Saturdays, our Saturday webinars. I've been doing on stop eating CRAP, crap, which is kind of a spin-off on a fad right now. C stands for carbonated beverages, A stands for artificial ingredients, R stands for I think refined sugars and that kind of thing. A stands for artificial ingredients, and P processed foods kind of thing. So kind of loosely taking off on that and doing my own kind of version of it. Spent 4 weeks really on sweeteners because, wow, I mean, there's so much to cover there. Last week, I thought it was fascinating myself, really got into the whole allulose thing. In fact, I'm going to grab a bag of allulose right here and show it to you. Our open hours here in the office are 9:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. I think I said everything I'm supposed to. Allulose, certified organic allulose. Allulose as a functional food, it's a sweetener, but it is, I would say, like the three purest non-sugar sweeteners are monk fruit, and stevia, not mixed with erythritol of any kind, and allulose. And allulose is, when it comes to the sugar content of allulose, we've got about, it's raining today and I didn't have time to dry my hair, so that's fine. We're in the cafe. Allulose is a functional food in the sense that it actually helps you with your meals to keep your glycemic index down, your insulin and your glucose and your insulin down. It also helps to burn visceral fat, which is that belly fat. It also, and subcutaneous fat, but that visceral fat that like is on front of your organs and is not good to have. For your overall health, it helps to clean triglycerides out of your liver. It helps to also interact with GLP-1, like the drugs, like the popular weight loss drugs, Ozempic and Wegovy, but without the severity of it and without the side effects or whatnot. So anyway, very good for us to keep from getting diabetes, pre-diabetes, metabolic syndrome, if you will. if you have those conditions, reversing, of course, with diet being the key, and then adding something like this, like a functional food that you can use, have stir into a cup of tea with a meal or a beverage, or I don't care, whatever legal beverage you're drinking. It's about 70% as sweet as sugar. If you're baking with it, it's recommended like use 1 1/3. Like if you're doing a cup of sugar in the recipe, use 1 1/3 cups if you want the same desired sweetness. It doesn't have any kind of taste. Anyway, I've been recommending it to everybody this week. And this, I keep ordering it in. So this is the one that we use. So that was really fun. Okay. What else do I want to say? So today, I'm going to be talking about processed foods, food additives. And wow, is it sobering when I actually kind of looked at a lot of these together in a progression, it makes you like absolutely not have to wonder why we are so sick as a population, why there is so much chronic disease, and a lot of it just not even understanding and thinking, well, it's not that bad, I don't eat that much of it, or whatever the case may be. But it does really make a difference. So I'm going to dig in. I've got to just find my presentation. What do I want to find? I want to find it in my, don't mind me. Let's pull up the PDF. Anyway, how are you guys all doing? I hope you're doing great. Oh yeah, if you want to participate, you can type in the chat, you can raise your hand and speak, or you can type in the Q&A. And let's see, processed food and foods. No, I want processed foods in educational presentations. So let me just go to educational presentations. I'll find it, don't worry. All these. Yeah, I got many files on my computer, right, as you can imagine, that have to do with processed food. Diet is really the key. We use, okay, let me find the PDF. There it is, okay. We use supplements as therapeutic agents. That's what I do. Like, I use them orthomolecularly, like not just to, like vitamin C, not just to prevent scurvy, but to prevent cancer, right? That kind of thing. But food is the foundation. If you are going to eat a bad diet, your supplements are not going, that's not the foundation, I guess is what I want to say. So anyway, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to dig in. And I think, those of you who are with me and who are even searching for a video like this, I'm preaching to the choir. I'm talking to people who are concerned about this stuff like I am. And so it's good fuel for you to know, to be better informed, to also know how to answer maybe people who are asking you about that kind of thing, how to be a little bit more diligent, to be firm if it's somebody you're responsible for what they're eating, like your kids or maybe elderly relatives or whatever, to be a little bit more informed and you have more to be able to say about that kind of thing, to help encourage others regarding the importance of such things. Let's put it that way. Not to be a nag, of course not, no. Okay, I'll share my screen. Where are we? There, share, and then I have to get you all organized again so I can keep an eye on you. See if you are wanting to be involved. And the chat is there, and then all of you are here. Okay, great. Now, while I'm here online, I'm going to just take you to where you can kind of go to find what I've already done in this series, like, especially if you're watching, you're seeing this on Rumble or YouTube and the first time you've ever tuned in or whatever, if you go to wondrousroots.org, this is my learning website. It's where you're going to find a lot of information. I've been building a lot of pages here. This particular topic is in the foods and beverage superfoods, but if you went up into the bar here It said, stop eating crap. You should get something. Yeah. Go to the other pages, not the blogs, right? Because I don't have, the blogs are separate. But that's on the foods, beverages, and superfoods. And then if you go over here to that food page, you go stop eating crap, or say you want to look for, you can just scroll down, you'll see them all. But like the last one was sweetener wrap up, and you can just go there. And there you'll see the links to the video, to the PDF, like I'm going through the PDF today. Same thing for the other ones. So you can get there that way. Okay, so that's a page that's going to ever be expanding. The food one will probably be 9 miles long by the time it's done. But just as I'm getting to things, talking about them, I add them there. So let's go back now to processed food poisons. Again, feel free to participate. I love the participation. So and if you have something you just want to pick my brain about something else entirely, that's all well and good too. It's just fun to be together. In learning, together in learning. And the kind of learning we do is so beneficial because it changes us. It changes our bodies. It changes, we can change our bodies for the future, we change our future. Oh, that's good. I'm gonna have to remember that one. Okay. Anyway, processed food poisons from can to chaos, what we need to know. I say what you need to know, but it's what I need to know too. Introduction to the 3 Ps. That advertisement you see constantly, the 3 Ps, what are they? Price, price, and price. So I kind of took off on that, but for insurance or something. But anyway, processed foods, which is today's focus. Plastics. We got to talk about microplastics and how we're getting them and into our bodies and what we can do to minimize getting them into our bodies and how we can get them out of our bodies. That's probably what most people are like, how do I get rid of them? I know I've got them. How do I get rid of them? So anyway, pesticides. We'll be talking about those, giving them their day in the sunlight as well. So I say, oh gosh, you know me, I can't stand the way these, just wait, let me try to get this formatted properly. So we're not looking at okay, that looks good. Processed isn't evil until it is. So not all processing of food is harmful. I mean, we have to do processing. I have Pastor Karen, I can see is in the class today. If you could see all the canning she does at harvest time. I mean, Karen, I got to have you send me again your pantry photo because I got to put it on a slide. But I mean, obviously we have to process some foods so that we can eat them later. So there's natural processing. What we're talking about is processed foods and especially ultra processed foods, but foods that are processed using things that are harmful to us. The idea of processing is to make things last longer, right? So that we can enjoy them later. So canning tomatoes, doing whatever, making pickles, that kind of thing. And we have to have some processed foods that we can purchase because we're not all barefoot and pregnant going to be doing that kind of thing all the time. So we've got to know how to pick and choose among those things in the grocery store. So anyway, from kitchen to the chemistry lab. Examples of ultra processed foods are boxed meals, mac and cheese, canned soups and pastas, white bread and buns, processed meats, hot dogs, deli slices, frozen meals, snacks, cookies, crackers, pastries, candy and snack bars, soda and fruit drinks, protein powders and shakes. Sometimes things that we're doing to make a healthy choice, we think we're making a healthy choice, got to read that label. Oh, one of my people, Wondrous Roots family here was emailing that I should tell people to get the RFK Junior app that you can put on your phone and go around. Again, you shouldn't need it very often because you shouldn't be eating things that are in a box, or we shouldn't be, but if you have questions on something that is kind of on the fence, you're not sure, it's a great thing to use. And there's another one, EWG has one, and somebody was showing me another one the other day. So you guys are probably kind of up on those things too. That you can use to check out different things. The ingredient wall of shame. Many processed foods aren't just empty calories. And that's one of the big things I'm going to kind of wrap up with. That's sort of like the real shame of the whole thing, is that it's not just what they that they're empty calories, that they're toxic. They're empty calories and they take up. Food was put here on the earth to provide fuel, not to just fill a, soothe our appetite. What do I, quench our appetite. No, quench appetite, quench thirst, satisfy our appetite. Yeah, I think that's the right word. Satisfy the appetite. Or the taste buds. So preservatives, let's start out with preservatives. A food preservative is a substance added to food to prevent spoilage from microbes, oxidation, or chemical changes, helping extend shelf life and maintain safety. So preservatives definitely have their place. Yes, we do need them. We have to prevent mold, bacterial growth, spoilage, extend shelf life, reducing food waste, essential for products that can't be used immediately, like sauces, oils, prepared dips, certain supplements. Need to have those. But here I have, the metaphor there of throwing out the baby with the bathwater. So we do need preservatives. So we're not saying everything that preserves is bad. That's not the point. So let's take a look. Common synthetic preservatives include BHA, butylate, okay, I'll pronounce it once, butylated hydroxyanazole, and BHT, butylated hydroxytoluene, and TBHQ, tertiary butyl hydroquinone, all these butylated things anyway, used primarily in processed fats and oils. That's the TBHQ. That's the one that's used primarily in fats and oils. And sodium benzoate and potassium sorbate, often found in acidic foods like soft drinks, dressings, and fruit products. While these preservatives are effective, many have raised health concerns related to hormone disruption, potential carcinogenicity, cancer-causing potential, and allergic reactions. So you kind of have a good little example here of a typical label already. You've got high fructose corn syrup already. We've talked a lot about that, so we're not going to be talking about those today. We'll go back to fructose fiasco for all of that. Soybean oil, right there. Soybean anything. We're going to talk about that a little bit later today. Guar gum. We're going to be talking about emulsifiers. But here we have potassium sorbate, I think it says there. Sodium benzoate. We're going to be talking about that. Blah, 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 blah. Natural flavors. Got to watch out for natural flavors. That can be that can just shield a multitude of sins. Anyway, preservatives that won't preserve you. Honestly, when we talk about BHT a little bit late as we get along here, it won't be that much later because we have got a lot to cover here today. But we'll talk about that linked to endocrine disruption. I'll tell you a really intriguing story, true Wondrous Roots life story. Sodium benzoate may form benzene, which is a known carcinogen, when combined with vitamin C. And that gets to be really sticky too, because vitamin C is like a preservative that you'd want to see in something that you were purchasing off the shelf, but not combined with sodium benzoate. And now it becomes a whole different animal. Let's see. Who knew? Potassium sorbate, skin and immune irritant in some studies. So anyway, let's look at BHA and BHT. What are they? They're fat-soluble antioxidants used to prevent oils and fats from going rancid. So I was wrong when I was saying it was just the TBHQ or what TQHB or whatever. They are also used for the fats. That's right. I knew that. That's totally right. Because when you use BHT as a anti-herpes treatment, you take it out of the capsule and you mix it with a fat so that it really gets into your body. I did know that. Sorry, little brain fog. Not really. Commonly added to extend shelf life in cereals, chips, chewing gum, processed meats, snack foods, cosmetics and packaging materials, and they can actually migrate into food from the packaging materials, right? So, health concerns, endocrine disruption. Both BHA and BHT have been shown in animal studies to interfere with hormone signaling, may mimic or block estrogen and androgen receptors, potential reproductive effects, and thyroid disruption over time. And I think that's one of the things we really have to not take too lightly when it comes to a lot of our processed foods is thyroid health. and we have so much, so many people with thyroid problems today. So anyway, evaluation of the possible endocrine disruption effect of hydroxyzole, butylated, blah, 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 and propylene gallate in immature female rats. Okay, so basically, the bottom line there is the data obtained from the present study suggests that BHA, BHT, and propylene gallate indeed have endocrine disruptive effects on Wistar prepubescent female rats, the most aggressive compound being the propyl gallate. Now, what's really interesting is we have legislation going on right now to ban some of these. This is actually the Ban on Harmful Food Additives Act of 2025. So this is right in process right now. So this is the good thing, right? It looks like if it passes, what it would ban in 6 months after enactment: BHT, BHA, and TBHQ, the things that we're going to be talking about. Why? Endocrine disruption, carcinogenic potential, reasonably anticipated to be cancer, increasing your risk of getting cancer, and also neurodevelopmental and behavioral concerns in animal studies. So we're thinking now ADD, ADHD, all of the things. We got enough stuff going on with people's brains that's all messed up as it is. Maybe that's why, right? The global context, already banned or restricted in the European Union, Japan, and other countries. California and West Virginia have passed similar bans taking effect that will take effect between now and 2027. I want to talk about the BHT a little bit because when I first read Dirk Pearson and Sandy Shaw's big tome, Life Extension, and I think I have it on my bookshelf. Hang on 1 second. Yeah. Okay. My father gave me a copy of this book. Let me stop my share for a second. My father gave me a copy of this book, back when it was published, and that was back in, where do you find it? Let me hang on. I just want to see. This had to be back in, I want to say 80s. That's what I want to say. Oh, 1980. Yeah. Anyway, it's an old book, but they were really cutting edge, and they really talked about preservatives in a positive light. And they have a chapter in here, I know it says, your preservatives, could they be preserving you? And they made a big case for BHT and BHA. But it's a double, they're just huge preservatives. So I was always kind of like, I don't know if I would never just take like BHT to be a preservative, but I have carried BHT and used it with people who have like herpes, problems with severe herpes. It can be used for shingles. It can be used for herpes simplex 2, genital herpes, which can be very hard to get rid of. Usually with herpes simplex 1, we can use monolaurin and lysine to help with that form of the virus, but herpes simplex 2 can be really difficult. So I'll give you a really cool example. I'm going to let me do it again. I am share. Now I gotta just get my participants in my chat back where they belong. Okay. So what happened was this woman contacted me, and she was at the time, this couple of years ago, 76 years old, and she had a flare of genital herpes. And she contacted me because she saw that online I carried capsules with BHT. And she started using this to get on top of to get this to go away. And lo and behold, now she's decades post-menopause, and she starts to bleed vaginally. So I can definitely attest to its hormonal effects. Very, very fascinating. So that's just kind of a real, up close and personal example that I can talk about from my own experience. Very interesting. So yeah, you just don't know. And you know, when the industry started using these things, of course they knew certain things, right? But they didn't tell us. And you got to consider, and this is the big thing too. Most foods, people eating a high processed food diet, you're getting a bunch of these and you're getting them all the time and mixed together. It's bad, bad. Sodium benzoate is really concerning. It's a synthetic preservative used to prevent the growth of mold, yeast, and some bacteria. And by itself, it's really not so nefarious, but it's what can happen with it. So it shows up in things like soda, vinegar-based condiments, and fruit juices, often labeled as E211 in Europe, where you'll commonly find it. These things look pretty familiar. Sodas, fruit punches, flavored waters, bottled lemon, lime juice, jams and jellies, salad dressings, mouthwash, toothpaste, and some natural skincare products. Health concerns and risks. It forms benzene when combined with vitamin C. And oftentimes you will see vitamin C and sodium benzoate mixed together in the same product. Like soda, right? Benzene can form, especially with heat or light exposure. The FDA has acknowledged this risk and found detectable levels in some soft drinks. Benzene, what is benzene? Is a natural constituent of petroleum and is one of the elementary petrochemicals. So, yeah. Benzene is a colorless or light yellow liquid chemical at room temperature. It is used primarily as a solvent in the chemical and pharmaceutical industries, as a starting material and an intermediate in the synthesis of numerous chemicals and in gasoline. Benzene is produced by both natural and man-made processes. It is a natural component of crude oil, which is the main source of benzene produced today. Other sources, natural sources, include gas emissions from volcanoes and forest fires. That wasn't really good out in California, like recently, right? A few months ago. How are people exposed to benzene? People are exposed to benzene primarily by breathing air that contains the chemical. Workers in industries that produce or use benzene may be exposed to the highest levels of the chemical, although federal and state regulations have reduced these exposures in recent decades. Similarly, limits on the amount of benzene allowed in gasoline have contributed to reduced exposures. Among smokers, 90% of benzene exposures come from smoking and people who smoke. Mainstream cigarette smoke is another source of benzene exposure, accounting for about half of the total US population exposure to this chemical. Among smokers, 90% of benzene exposures come from smoking, may also be found in glues, adhesives, cleaning products, and paint strippers. So some people's jobs really make them, year after year after year, working with certain chemicals just makes them naturally more exposed. Outdoor air contains low levels of benzene from secondhand tobacco smoke, gasoline fumes, motor vehicle exhaust, and industrial emissions. So you can see, the harmful chemicals in cigarette smoke. And it's also a carcinogen, is associated with leukemia. That's a really concerning thing, and that's where we're going with this now. First, you see here, it's exactly an example of a soda label that has both ascorbic acid and sodium benzoate. That's Fanta. Very, just to, again, become a label reader if you're not already. Is it safe? For example, a small percentage of people who are hypersensitive to sodium benzoate can experience asthmatic attacks, hives, or other allergic reactions when they consume the preservative. So that's like an allergy problem. But a more common problem, however, is the combination of sodium benzoate and citric acid and/or ascorbic acid. When these ingredients get together, they form benzene, a cancer-causing chemical associated with leukemia and other blood cancers. Now it's getting serious. Parental, in utero, and early life exposure to benzene, and the risk of childhood leukemia, a meta-analysis. Overall, we identified evidence of associations between childhood leukemia and several different potential metrics of benzene exposure. Benzene exposure in pediatric leukemia, from molecular clues to epidemiological insights. And then finally, benzene and its effect on cell signaling pathways related to hematopoiesis and leukemia. So there's definitely a connection there. And a 2007 study published in the Lancet Oncology suggested sodium benzoate could damage mitochondrial DNA. Mitochondria, guys. I am the mitochondriac. In isolated human cells. The mechanism, potential interference with cell respiration and oxidative balance. So we're playing with fire. It's like, oh, this just tastes so good. I love these. These Doritos are wonderful. Or this soda is just so great. I can't get enough of the flavor. Well, you're not getting just flavor. Precautionary labeling and in combination with artificial dyes, which you definitely see in soda, increased hyperactivity in children, just what they need and just what the world needs. This finding led to precautionary labeling and dyed products in the European Union, especially concerning products marketed to children, such as flavored waters, drink pouches, right? So popular with parents. Oh, let's pack your little snack Lunchable and your put it in our trendy, yuppie little what do I want to say? Cooler bag. Off we go for the day. Potential and allergic reactions. So some people might have allergic reactions, which would be, my least concern. If you're allergic to something, don't eat it, but it's more the chronic illness producing things that bother me for the potential of those things. Safer alternatives. Potassium sorbate is often used as a substitute, though not without its own concerns. We'll talk about it a little bit, but not as lethal as some of these other things. Citric acid, rosemary extract, and also vitamin E can be used as natural preservatives, or better yet, choose fresh, refrigerated, or homemade options. So the takeaway, sodium benzoate isn't just a passive pantry guest, it's a reactive wild card, especially dangerous when mingling with vitamin C and heat. It has a documented behavioral and potentially cellular effects that make it worth avoiding whenever possible. And of course, it's always possible. You just read the label, you don't buy it, you don't eat it. That's the other thing, like that you tend to not to have a lot of patience about it. Like, oh no, what are we going to do? Really? It's kind of obvious, just don't. But if you think about it, if you just think about the population in general, people are getting filled up with this stuff. I had a dental thing a while back, and I had to wait for an antibiotic prescription. And I was at Hannaford's then for probably 25 to 30 minutes waiting for this prescription to get filled. And boy, was it an eye-opener just watching, and I'm not trying to be judgy here, but watching people go by, looking at them and looking what's in their cart. It was very revealing. You can see people's bodies and what they look like and what their health looks like. You can observe that from the outside, and then you can look at what's in their carts and you go, yeah, I see a connection there. It's not too hard to do. Okay, so now we're talking about, talking now about this one, the TBHQ, tertiary butyl hydroquinone, the Frankenstein of fat preservation. It's a synthetic antioxidant derived from butane, yep, the stuff that's in lighters, used to prevent oils and fats from oxidizing, going rancid, or changing flavor, odor. Approved by the FDA in small amounts with a max of 0.02% of total oil fat content. These are some of the things you typically, use this fast food stuff. You're going to find that in those oils. Where it hides, you'll find it in fried foods, snack foods, chips, crackers, microwave popcorn, frozen processed foods, especially meats and breaded products, fast food, many chicken nuggets and fries. There we go. Packaged baked goods, instant noodles, some cereals, and even gums. Personal care products like lip balm and cosmetics, but the focus here is on food, of course, today. And here you can see, this is, I'm trying to think what this is. Cheese made with skim, okay. High oleic so vegetable oil. We're gonna be talking about the oils anyway, so that's bad. And/or canola oil with TBHQ for freshness to keep that from going rancid. Cheese made with skim, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Why it's a concern, immune system disruption. For one, again, the answer for our immune system disruption here in the mainstream is make sure you get your annual inoculations, get your flu shot and your shingle shot and your COVID shot and your this and your that, but wear your immune system down with the foods that we feed you in the hospital, if you will. Could increase susceptibility to viral infections or reduce immune defenses. Animal studies suggest high doses may cause behavioral changes, including restlessness and anxiety-like symptoms. There's an epidemic of that going around too, linked to impaired memory and vision disturbances in long-term exposure models. Well, we got plenty of that in our chronic disease model today, don't we? Tumor promotion in rats. Some older studies found TBHQ promoted stomach tumors in lab rats. It's not classified as a carcinogen, but research flagged it as a tumor promoter under certain conditions, which is technically a carcinogen, right? If it promotes tumors, then it has cancer-promoting properties. And then finally, behavioral concerns in children. Like other synthetic antioxidants, BHA, BHT, TBHQ has been implicated in hyperactivity and attention issues. Not fully understood how that happens, but likely related to oxidative stress and interference with neurological signaling. Our kids, God bless them, do not stand a chance. Most kids today, I'm sorry, do not stand a chance. You know, it's the parent who's really vigilant, and you have to be on top of your game. And how many are like that? I mean, thankfully, there's lots, but most kids, not a chance. How this is considered is the TBHQ and around the world. In the USA, it's still allowed and given generally recognized as safe status. In the European Union, it's heavily restricted or banned in many food applications. In Australia and New Zealand, it's permitted in limited doses and has its own labeling. Better alternatives. So how to prevent your foods from going rancid? Like at our house, we keep nuts in the refrigerator or freezer. Store oils and fats sealed and vacuum packed. You can always tell if an oil has gone rancid too. It's got or a can of nuts or something like that, or a package of nuts or seeds has gone rancid. You can smell it. And you do have to be careful and don't eat them if they have. Go out and get fresh ones, but keep them in a dry, dark location. Refrigerator, freeze them unopened. You can add in antioxidants when appropriate. Say you have oil or something like that that you're worried about. You can use mixed tocopherols. You can add some vitamin E oil, a little bit to your bottle of olive oil or whatever. You can add ascorbyl palmitate, which is a vitamin C derivative you could get. It's a fat-soluble form of vitamin C. Or you can add things like rosemary extract, green tea extract, a little bit of that stirred in. And then, of course, just keep things fresh. Don't, rotate your supplies. Ascorbyl palmitate, the oil-soluble form of vitamin C, that can be done. Potassium sorbate is used to help make food safe by curbing microbial growth. So it's there to help extend shelf life, like all preservatives are. It's the big one for mold, stopping things mold. So used in beverages, cheeses, wines, salad dressings, syrups, baked goods, personal care products, the mold cop of a processed food world. So the background of potassium sorbate is natural and pretty interesting. In the 1800s, chemists isolated sorbic acid from the berries of the mountain ash tree, the rowan tree. That's where the name sorbic comes from. And then later, scientists synthesized sorbic acid and created potassium salt, known as potassium sorbate, to make it more water soluble and easier to use in food and cosmetic products. Potassium sorbate itself does not come from the mountain ash berry. It's a synthetic derivative of sorbic acid. So that's just the science there. So compound sorbic acid, natural, yes, originally from the rowan berries. Today, now it's synthetically made. Its action is an antifungal preservative. Potassium sorbate, no, it comes from sorbic acid. So it's a fully synthetic, lab-derived, more soluble, used in food and cosmetics. So whether it starts out as potassium sorbate or as sorbic acid directly, your body ends up dealing with sorbic acid either way. Yeah. When it dissolves in water or inside your digestive system, it releases sorbic acid, which is an the active antimicrobial agent. So anyway, is it okay? Generally recognized as safe, the FDA, EFSA, and the World Health Organization all currently consider it safe in small amounts. It's rapidly metabolized into water, and carbon dioxide does not accumulate in tissues. Potential health risks and controversies: DNA damage at high doses. Some lab studies suggest potassium sorbate may cause DNA damage in white blood cells, but only at high concentrations and with prolonged exposure. They're often dismissed because they don't reflect real-world ingestion levels. Still, they raise eyebrows. I would say if you're looking for something and you're looking for something that's really like pure, like, I don't know, pickles or something like that, olives or something that has doesn't have all those other things and has potassium sorbate in it, I wouldn't worry about it. That's how I feel about that one. However, may act synergistically with other additives. When combined with ascorbic acid and iron, it may form mutagenic byproducts under certain conditions. Again, only in specific chemical environments, but worth noting in formulas that blend multiple additives. So yeah, just watch for that. Again, you can have allergic reactions if you're sensitive to that kind of thing. And limited evidence suggests that repeated exposure to food preservatives like potassium sorbate may affect the composition of gut bacteria. So while less studied than emulsifiers like polysorbates, it's well worth a flag in the caution column for regular consumers of processed foods. And that's the kind of thing, like, are you a regular consumer of processed foods? If you're having something once in a while with minimal preservatives, probably not a big deal, right? You can just sort of flush that out, pass it off. But most people who like junk food eat it regularly. And that's a problem. Common foods that contain it: shredded cheese, baked goods, muffins, tortillas, fruit snacks, and dried fruit. Sparkling waters and flavored beverages, yogurt, pickles and sauces, wine as a stabilizer, some supplements, and throat lozenges. Dairy products, things like cheese, yogurt, dips using dairy products, margarines, mayonnaise, and sour cream contain potassium sorbate. These products are processed using potassium sorbate to extend their shelf life by inhibiting the growth of certain molds, yeast, and bacteria. Some wines. Potassium sorbate in the form of sorbic acid is a relatively new additive found in some wines. Sorbic acid is produced when, blah, 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 we saw that. Dry red or white wines do not contain it, as these wines have no sugar present and therefore are not at risk of re-fermentation. And you won't find it in organic wines either, since it is not allowed as an additive. Fresh and dried fruits. Potassium sorbate is commonly used with fruits in place of a synthetic fungicide to control fungal decay that will spoil the fruit. Fruit products, including dried fruits that are shelved at room temperature, contain potassium sorbate to ward off the potential growth of pathogens that could cause the product to go bad. So yes, I mean, obviously, we have to have some food preservatives. You got to go with the lower level offenders, right? And I would say potassium sorbate is that. Additional products, baked products, including pies, cakes, confections, bread, baking mixes, fudges, icing, and toppings contain sorbic acid. Other products that you might find at the grocery store include beverages, acidified or fermented vegetables, salads, olives, smoked and salted fish, dressings, syrups, and jellies. So just, be that label reader. My take, bottom line, in my opinion, if you're minimizing processed foods overall, the potassium sorbate in your occasional tapenade probably isn't going to take you down, right? So you like really nice quality things like olive tapenade or something like that, you might find some potassium sorbate there. That's a far cry from ultra processed food. Here you can see, look for instead. I was looking last night because we had some oh gosh, I can't, the olives that start with the C, calcitrova or something, I can't think of the exact word, but we have some. So I looked last night and ours were actually with like this, with ascorbic acid and lactic acid as their preservatives, and with salt. And sea salt is also a preservative. So ascorbic acid, lactic acid, citric acid, vitamin E, vinegar, lemon juice, sea salt, better preservative picks. And the things I'm sure that people who can and stuff like that on a regular basis use, certain things like that. Artificial dyes, now it's getting really red 40, yellow 5, blue 1, banned or restricted in other countries, linked to hyperactivity in children. Real food has color, chemicals don't belong on your plate. So red dye number 3, recently on the chopping block. There's been a lot in the news about that recently. So what really happened here? In October 2023, the FDA announced plans to ban red dye number 3 in food products. This is back in 2023, aligning with mounting scientific and consumer pressure. The move follows decades of controversy, as red 3 has already been banned in cosmetics and topical drugs since 1990 due to cancer concerns, but oddly remained allowed in foods. Okay. You're just going to eat it. FDA action on January 15, 2025, the FDA announced the revocation of authorization of the use of FDC red number 3 in food and ingested drugs, citing the Delaney Clause of the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, which prohibits additives found to cause cancer in humans or animals. Well, what do you think? Common sense, right? Where the red number 3 ban stands now, the reason for the ban, studies have shown that high levels of red number 3 cause thyroid tumors in male rats. While the mechanism may not directly apply to humans, the Delaney Clause mandates a ban if any evidence of carcinogenicity in animals exists. So the implementation timeline, food products. Manufacturers have until January 15, 2027 to reformulate products without red number 3. Wow. They got 2 years to do that. Really? I mean, ingested drugs compliance required by January 18th, 2028. Affected products commonly found in candies, baked goods, frostings, and some medications. Consumers are advised to check labels for FDC red number 3 or erythrosine. So people are still going to be getting this for a couple of years through those things. Public concern has centered on behavioral effects in children similar to red 40 and yellow 5, etc., possible links to ADHD symptoms, irritability, learning issues. Many parents, pediatricians, and consumer advocacy groups have pushed for bans based on these effects, but the FDA has not officially acted on behavioral data. So a quick distinction between red 3 and red 40, which we really want to get rid of. Older, iodine-based, newer, petroleum-based, recently targeted by FDA, still allowed without restriction. Carcinogenic concerns confirmed, behavioral and immune system concern. Already banned in cosmetics, red 3 used in food, med, and supplements, foods, meds, and supplements, red 40. It's known as Allura red. It's a petroleum-derived synthetic dye, commonly used to add brighter or pink color to foods, drinks, supplements, medications, and cosmetics, labeled as red 40, Allura red, blah, 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 blah. Where you'll find it: candies, fruit-flavored snacks, popsicles, soft drinks, energy drinks, sports drinks, baked goods, cereals, frostings, gelatin desserts, think red Jell-O, chewable vitamins, cough syrups, kids' meds. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Honestly, and even found in some protein powders and yogurts labeled as natural. Why it's a concern, behavioral effects in children. Multiple studies, including the Southampton study of 2007, linked Red 40 to increased hyperactivity and attention issues in children, especially when combined with preservatives like sodium benzoate, right? Which it's going to be in so many products. Led to warning labels in the EU and bans in some countries. US still allowed, no warning required. Possible carcinogenicity, cancer causing. Some animal studies suggest DNA damage and tumor formation. Though findings are mixed, concerns arise from impurities created during manufacture, including benzidine, a known carcinogen allowed in safe trace amounts. Allergic sensitivities, reactions, rashes, migraines, asthma-like symptoms, immune flare-ups, especially in sensitive individuals or kids with ADHD, often misattributed to sugar crashes when it's actually the dye that's behind the problem. Now, the sugar doesn't help. Global response in the European Union requires warning labels. In the UK, urged manufacturers to phase out. Austria, Switzerland, Norway, banned. In the USA, still widely used with no warnings required. Make America Healthy Again and making strides. The initiative is part of the broader Make America Healthy Again campaign aimed to replace these dyes with natural alternatives due to concerns over their potential health impacts, particularly in children. FDA's planned phase out of synthetic dyes is now in the works. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, in collaboration with the Department of Health and Human Services, has announced plans to phase out the following petroleum-based synthetic dyes from the food supply by the end of 2026. Thank you, RFK Jr. Donald Trump, red number 40, yellow number 5, yellow number 6, blue number 1, blue number 2, green number 3. And we have some state level actions. This is the Pennsylvania State House. Several states are proactively addressing the use of synthetic dyes: California, West Virginia, Pennsylvania. Public schools aligning with national efforts to eliminate such additives from children's diets. So turning in the right direction, thank God. Health concerns driving the movement. The push to eliminate these dyes stems from studies linking them to behavioral issues in children, such as hyperactivity and attention deficits, potential cancer-causing effects with some dyes containing contaminants like benzidine, allergic reactions and hypersensitivity, particularly in individuals with asthma or aspirin sensitivity. This just explains the chronic disease disaster of our times. There's some natural food coloring ingredients: beet juice, carrot juice, spirulina, annatto, turmeric. Yeah, get color from these things, use those as dyes. And a lot of products do that people are buying that are natural, cereals and things. Now, excitotoxins, we talked about them during the high fructose corn syrup session, but we'll run through them a little bit more because they are definitely added to ultra processed foods by the handfuls. The addictive additives, MSG, autolyzed yeast, hydrolyzed proteins, overstimulate brain cells, create food cravings, can trigger migraines, mood swings, and neurodegeneration over time. They're often disguised as things that are so totally like, who knows what that is, natural flavoring, yeast extract, soy protein isolate. So what is excitotoxicity? Again, glutamate is a naturally occurring neurotransmitter that plays a vital role in brain function, especially in learning and memory. However, in excess, and particularly when consumed in its free, unbound form through additives like MSG and its many analogs, glutamate can become toxic to the nerve cells. This phenomenon, known as excitotoxicity, occurs when glutamate overstimulates stimulates neurons, causing them to fire repeatedly until they become damaged or die. The brain is usually protected by the blood-brain barrier, but in cases of inflammation, stress, or certain health conditions, including neurodegenerative diseases, that barrier becomes more permeable, allowing more glutamate to enter. Over time, chronic exposure to glutamate-based additives can contribute to neuroinflammation, mood disturbances, cognitive dysfunction, and even cell death in vulnerable brain regions. While small amounts of glutamate in whole foods are not harmful, concentrated forms added to processed foods can pose a serious threat to brain health, especially in children, the elderly, and individuals with neurological sensitivities. And think about pregnant women and developing life. So mystery ingredients that aren't so mysterious. You might think avoiding MSG is as simple as skipping anything labeled MSG, right? Monosodium glutamate, but the list of hidden sources and MSG analogs is staggering. They include yeast extract, autolyzed yeast, hydrolyzed vegetable protein, hydrolyzed soy or wheat protein, textured vegetable protein, sodium caseinate, calcium caseinate, anything enzymatically modified. It doesn't stop there. Natural flavor, broth, bouillon, stock, malt extract, soy sauce, tamari, Bragg's aminos, and even some whey protein concentrates can all contain or release fruit-free glutamate. Common additives like citric acid, when derived from industrial sources, like instead of like lemon juice. Carrageenan and flavor enhancers often boost the excitotoxic effect. And let's not forget sweeteners like aspartame and neotame, which break down into aspartate, another excitotoxin that overstimulates neurons. With so many aliases and loopholes, it's clear that avoiding glutamate-based additives means reading labels like a chemist and expecting food companies to get very creative with their wording. Look at this. Goldfish, ingredients to smile about. Banned at Whole Foods. Okay. Whole grain yellow corn flour, sunflower and or canola oil, tapioca flour, cornstarch, salt, toasted corn germ, whey powder, teff, onion powder, dextrose, yeast extract, autolyzed yeast, monosodium glutamate, sugar, citric acid. You're getting these things combined together. And this is, and they say down here, at Pepperidge Farm, we take pride in what goes in our food. Wow, they're proud of this label. And think about this goldfish, like when I've been doing Sunday school classes and things like that, goldfish is like the snack of the Sunday school class. Because why? We say, oh, it's not sugar. At least it's not sugar. How many kids are eating this crap? Horrible. Ingredients to smile about? Oh, please. That's not a smile. It's a cranial spasm from glutamate overload. Horrible, horrible. Addicted to processed foods, they are addicting. It's not, I'm not saying it's intentional, but it's intentional. You're supposed to get addicted. That's the whole thing. That's it, right? Your addiction is ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching to the processed food industry. They are designed to be addictive, not accidentally. Intentionally, food scientists carefully engineer these products to hit what's called the bliss point, the perfect balance of sugar, fat, salt, and the flavor enhancers that hijack the brain's reward system. These hyperpalatable foods flood the brain with dopamine, the same neurotransmitter involved in drug and alcohol addiction, reinforcing cravings and compulsive eating behaviors. On top of that, additives like MSG and its excitotoxin cousins stimulate the brain directly, while refined sugars and flours spike blood sugar, followed by crashes that leave you reaching for more. Over time, this can rewire the brain's reward circuitry, reduce satiety signals like I'm satisfied, and dull sensitivity to natural nourishing foods. The result, a cycle of overeating and poor health and emotional dependency that's incredibly hard to break. Not because of lack of willpower, but because the system is rigged for addiction. This is intended. Your chronic disease is fueling a massive industry. That's what RFK Jr. is talking about. That's why he is like a pit bull on this topic. You got to stop. You got to just stop. Run in the other direction. Processed foods, food fats. So I just want to touch on those briefly. We're running a little short of time, like we're out of time. It's 1 o'clock, but bear with me for like just a few more minutes. Margarine is made as a cheap substitute. It begins with industrial seed oils like soybean or canola that are extracted at high heat using chemical and solvents like hexane. The oil is then hydrogenated, a process that adds hydrogen atoms to make it solid at room temperature, creating trans fats in the process. So they're bad. Trans fats are bad. Not going to spend a lot of time on them. Vegetable and seed oils, ultra processed, pro-inflammatory. They are bad for you. Vegetable shortening, the great impersonator, yeah. Using pie crust tortillas, fried things, chronic inflammation. It's made of horrible oils, horrible, poor quality omega-6 oils. The virtues of grass-fed animal fats like beef tallow and pork lard. That's where you want to go. That's where you want to go for your healthy cholesterol and your cardiovascular health. Go right here, for the real animal stuff. Good fats versus bad fats. Again, you're going to be able to, I'll be putting this up on my website this afternoon, later on when I have the video up, and you'll be able to go through this, go through these slides again at your leisure if you wish to, and kind of look at them a little bit better. The things that are good, the things that are bad. Modern soy, another big thing in every bit of processed food, practically somewhere hidden in everything. From soil fixer to food fame. Originally, it was a soil enrichment crop rotation, but after World War II, with industrialization and the rise of surplus soy production mounting, food manufacturers, thank you, Dr. May, said, we can make some money on this. And so they started touting it as being a health food, soy. Plus, it's sprayed with glyphosate, one of the most heavily endocrine disruption, thyroid disease, menstrual reproductive problems coming from all of this, prostate, you name it. Then we have gums, emulsifiers, and gut confusion. So these are the things like xanthan gum, guar gum, carrageenan, gallon gum, lecithin, polysorbate 80, monoindole, propylene glycol, alginate, can bother your gut, is kind of like the bottom line there. The natural thickener that isn't so gentle, and the gut-brain connection, the emulsifiers in the brain-gut axis. So you've also got metabolic issues, immune dysfunction, low-grade systemic inflammation, and can affect the gut-brain connection. Where gums and emulsifiers hide in plain sight, you see them in a lot of products like this. Sodium nitrates. So maybe skip the hot dog and save your buns for better days. Save your buns, right? Save your buns by not eating the hot dog and the bun. Okay, nitrates. So these are added to, certain foods. There are natural nitrates, so you've got to kind of understand that nitrates themselves appear in nature. The plant-based nitrates are packaged with antioxidants and polyphenols that help prevent the formation of harmful nitromycins. It's when nitrates and nitrites are isolated, added to processed meats, and exposed to high heat that we run into trouble. So the real danger, to wrap up, is the synergistic stew, right? The processed food pile up. When you're eating processed food, you're not getting just potassium sorbate. You're not getting just BHT. You're not getting just any of the other ones we've mentioned, the MSG lookalikes. You're not getting just one. You're getting a big pot of stew, and you're getting a mess of poison. That's really what's happening. We are drowning in junk food. If one harmful additive can throw your health off course, imagine what happens when you combine dozens. It's exactly what's happening today in ultra-processed food. It's rarely just artificial dye or MSG or just an emulsifier. It's all of them together in one flashy, shelf-stable, deceptively tasty package. These ingredients weren't tested for safety in real-world combinations, but that's how people consume them. Stacked, layered, and repeated daily, from breakfast cereal to bedtime snack. That's the Western America, the American Western American diet. The body was never designed for this. Your liver, brain, gut, and immune system are equipped to handle naturally occurring compounds in food, but not this chemical cocktail. When multiple food additives hit the body at once, they can overwhelm detox pathways, disrupt hormones, impair digestion, trigger inflammation. What's worse, many of these compounds have overlapping or amplifying effects, especially when it comes to neurotoxicity, gut permeability, and metabolic dysfunction. It's like mixing cleaning products. You don't always know what the chemical reaction will be, but it's rarely good. A ticking clock and a choice. This isn't fear-mongering, it's reality-based awareness. We're living in a world where food science prioritizes profits and palatability over health. That doesn't mean we're powerless. Knowing what's behind the label gives you the power to opt out of the chemical soup and reclaim real food, the kind your body actually recognizes. It's not about perfection. It's about reducing your load, reading labels, realizing your food choices are one of the most powerful health decisions you make multiple times a day. It's just true. And the greatest crime of all, perhaps, is that processed foods aren't just empty and they're not just poisonous. They're actively taking up space where healing belongs. Not just what you're eating, it's what you're missing. When we fill up on processed foods, we're not just ingesting harmful additives, we're crowding out real nutrition our bodies are starving for. Every bite of ultra-processed food takes up space that should be used for nourishment. Our cells don't run on red 40 and soy oil. They need minerals, antioxidants, healthy fats, amino acids, and complex phytonutrients to repair, regenerate, and thrive. We are starving to death and getting fat in the process. And the anti-nutrient effect. Processed foods don't just lack nutrients, they often steal them. Many artificial additives, refined sugars, and oxidized fats increase the body's demand for vitamins like B complex, magnesium, and antioxidants just to detoxify and process them. In effect, they become anti-nutrients, robbing you of the good while offering nothing in return. A slow nutritional bankruptcy ensues. It truly is a crime against yourself to eat this way. It really is. It should make us really stop and take pause. The modern epidemic of chronic disease, from diabetes to autoimmune disorders, isn't just about genetics or age. It's about what's missing from our plates. Real whole foods have the balance to sustain health, balance hormones, modulate immunity, and prevent disease, but they've been pushed aside by flashy packaging and fake flavor. It's time to reclaim the plate. Your body is literally built on what you feed it. Time to clean house, starting with your plate. Today, we've taken apart the modern processed food label, examined it under a microscope. The ingredients we found weren't pretty. Together, they form a toxic stew that's contributing to widespread disease and dysfunction. Now that you see it, you can start to change it, whether your cleanup begins with one meal, one label, or one conversation. Every small step counts. Reclaim your plate, fuel your body with real food, and then, most importantly, share the good news of good food with others. You're not just making a difference for yourself, you're part of a ripple effect that can change lives. Say, clean up your plate, and you clean up your life. And I ran a little bit over. I hope you guys have all enjoyed this. I found this information so, what do I want to say? Sobering, like I said, to begin with, sobering, and a real wake-up call in some regards. And I can say my diet doesn't need a lot of cleanup in this regard, but a lot of diets do, and it does make you, even a person like me, take resolve and say, yeah, not in your life. I don't want any of that. I don't want any of that crap. I want to be healthy, and I want to be well, and I want to be well for a long time. So anyway, with that said, I am going to thank you, everyone, and thanks for the nice comments. And yeah, so next week we'll be digging into some more CRAP and see what we can do about that. Plastics is where I'm headed next week. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend and a great week, and I'll see you back in the classroom next Saturday. Take care. Be well.